the first thing that was revealed by the evidence is the manner in which the offense was committed. I want to remind ourselves of the judgment I delivered on 9th of February, where I indicated clearly that the evidence of the doctor who conducted the post-mortem report indicated that the person who perpetrated this offense cut the throat of the deceased through and through. In that judgment, I spoke to an understanding that the person was not an amateur. The person must have had some training. And remember, the evidence even revealed that after the offense was committed, the deceased was put in the bathtub and the shower tap was put over to run the blood off. When I read the report presented by the probation department, where the accused person himself says, I have been trained by the Dubai Police Academy and an Ogara group, I thought that corroborated the finding of this court that there was full scale for commission of the offense. I do recall saying in that judgment that the manner in which the offense was committed did not at any time intend to give the deceased one more minute to live. I do recall throughout the trial, no any other than the counsel representing the accused person in this trial throughout kept on referring to the incident and the scene of crime as a slaughterhouse. Secondly, we have had the benefit of looking at the photographs showing the body of the deceased and the injuries. I would certainly not display them there, certainly not, at least for the benefit of the family. And I did indicate in my judgment, no one would like to look at them again. Not once, not twice. Now, let's look at, and this is very critical, because it is not the court just making an observation, it was a brutal murder. Let's look at how the defense, that is the submissions in mitigation by the accused person himself, describes the offense. I will now read to you how they describe the offense verbatimly. They say that it is a tragic, courteous loss of life on extreme circumstances bordering on an act of absolute madness that is beyond understanding. So even the defense joins the victim's family and the prosecution and the court in arriving at the conclusion it was a gruesome murder. Horrific, frightening. Let's now look at another important aspect that the court has considered. The consequences of the offense. From where I sit as a court, each one of us is responsible for the natural and the probable consequences of our actions and or omission. So it's not just an issue of committed an offense, but the far-reaching consequences of that offense cannot be ignored. And so in this case, it is undisputed that the deceased was the managing director of the family's business in South Sudan. it is undisputed that the business collapsed after her demise. It is undisputed that that was the source of income for the family, and we can all appreciate the natural and probable consequences of that. I have already made reference to the fact that the other consequence of this offense is what has been described, and unless there is evidence to the contrary, I believed it because it's in the probation officer's report, that the mother of the deceased suffered depression and stroke, and she has hardly healed. I've spoken to what the brother is said to be undergoing. This court, and I never lose out on anything, I try to get as much of in-depth of the material before me as I can, has been invited to take cognizance of the fact that the father of the deceased at one time said, I will let go. That did not form part of my record, because what formed part of the court's record is his sentiments as expressed in the brigade report, and that is what I would safely go by. But I'll be concluding with one or two other findings that could probably remove us from that mind thought that the father said, do not, vengeance is not mine. I also want us to just, in concluding, other than looking at the manner in which the offense was committed and the consequence or the impact of the offense, I took a bit of time to look at the character of the accused person. I have already spoken to how the probation officer describes him: aggressive, antisocial personality, and concludes he has double personality traits. But let's look at what else this court was able to gather while hearing this matter on the character of the accused person. It was the evidence of the guards at Royal Park Estate, where he was staying, that he would not allow himself to be searched. He would brandish a gun and say, I work at State House, and just drive off. It is the evidence of the brother of the deceased that even during the hearing of this case, at one time, he blocked his car when the case was going on. And of course, you have heard from the IO, even when he was out on board, he was still involved. I'm not condemning him because there's no charge before me. But the court cannot avoid looking at this. Because at the end of the day, the question is this: is this a person you want to release back to the society? And these issues become extremely critical for consideration. Finally, this matter and the evidence adduced does not lead to a conclusion that this murder was accidental. That the perpetrator did not have an opportunity to think about the consequences of his action. It was intentional. It was not a defensive act. It was not out of provocation. It was planned, it was intended, and it was executed.